extreme diet culture kills me because, like, imagine you put in all of this effort. Okay, so like you don't eat any hamburger buns every single day. Like, you never have empty calories, no empty calories whatsoever. Like, every meal has to be straight protein. Like, listen, I think people should be health conscious. Like, I think people should be conscious of like what they're putting in their body, because it really does have an effect on your mental and your body as a whole. Like, if you're just putting shit in your body all the time, you're gonna feel like shit. That is the truth. You could objectively be putting good things into your body, but you're not getting enough. Like, that's if it gets to a point where your hair is falling out and your nails are falling off and you're irritable and you feel awful, like to the point where you feel sick, you feel dizzy, you're not eating enough.
So most people understand that a well-balanced, consistent diet is the key to eternal youth and everlasting happiness, right? You've been told that since you were a little kid in first grade. Obviously, everybody knows this. But there's some people who take this idea to the extreme by welcoming in these very extreme diets. And most of the time, these diets aren't what you would call a well-balanced diet, right? They usually exclude some really important food groups. And, we got that table a long time ago that said you're supposed to have this many grains and this much meat and this much dairy and this much whatever. Obviously, the food pyramid that they showed us when we were 5 is a load of hot bullshit. But there is a balance, and that balance is, it changes for every individual person. What might work for me might not work for you, and that's totally normal. So the thing is, it's all about finding your balance. Some people just say fuck all that, just throw it out the window, disregard any sort of science whatsoever, and decide I'm just going to eat this, whether it's just water, whether it's rice, cornstarch, whatever it might be, sofas, doesn't matter. I'm going to eat that, and that's going to make me skinny. It's going to make my body look fit. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to feel amazing. They try these things, and for some people, it might work for a little while. And then, health complications come in and weight starts dropping at an alarming rate, and then they think to themselves, either A, this is awesome, being severely malnourished, or B, something's wrong and I need to change. The reason I'm talking about this is this trend. The fact that it's a trend in the first place has become so prevalent and widespread, and it comes from so many different places. Celebrities have been doing this for decades now. But, with the onset of things like Ozempic and Zepbound and these weird, crazy diets, people are doing it more and more, and they're being influenced by it. And honestly, it's pretty harmful. And I think it's about time that we talk about it. And it's this extreme dieting as a way to fit the perfect aesthetic that you're looking for, whether that's, emaciated or, whatever you want to call it. And people are willing to throw away a lot in order to achieve this. And it's gotten to a point where this is consistently costing people their lives. And not just big influencers who have a name and a platform that people are going to obviously notice, but people who aren't as famous or well-known too, who are following these ideas. And I just want to name, a couple of examples of, what we're going to talk about throughout this video. Now, some of you might have heard the name Carolina Kurzek before. Now, unfortunately, she passed away, I think, roughly 6 months ago from doing a fruitarian diet, the kind of thing that Freely the Banana Girl has been pushing, the sort of thing that Zana Samsonova passed from. If you don't know who Freely is, she's one of the pioneers of this fruitarian lifestyle, and she does it differently because she's been having, obviously health problems, and has kind of changed up that whole fruitarian thing, and she eats all different kinds of stuff now, so she's not really fruitarian anymore, obviously for good reason. It's definitely a one-way ticket to Valhalla, so I wouldn't recommend it. But yes, unfortunately, another influencer in the last 6 months or so has passed away from doing this extreme diet. And then of course, you've probably heard the name Eugenia Cooney once before. And the problem with Eugenia, a lot I can't really talk about here because, this video will get banished to the shadow realm and you'll never see it. It will never see the light of day again. So we're just going to avoid that for the most part, but we will touch on it later. But we all know what she's quite guilty of. And unfortunately, she was kind of peddling ED, can't say that phrase here, but through her eating habits, and obviously there's a whole list of problems that came with her content, and it's something we're gonna have to discuss a little bit. Now, those are just a couple examples, and I've gone on long enough with this opening, so let's just kind of dive in head first.
This is what Nana eats to maintain her weight. And if you don't know who Nana is, she's a former member of a K-pop group called After School. And she is now a full-time actress. And she recently went on the TV show Please Take Care of My Fridge. She admitted that she barely cooks because she lives alone. Then she drops her diet details. Okay, Nana is 5'7", which is 171 centimeters. But she says she has a strict diet of maintaining her weight at 40 kilograms, which is 88 pounds. Her diet method is low carb, high fat. And she said there's almost no rice and no flour in her diet. And protein makes up 90% of her diet. And she actually keeps multiple types of butter in her fridge, because that's normally what she has for breakfast every day. She said every day in the morning for breakfast, an empty stomach, she would take a scoop of butter and sprinkle some salt on it. She said her favorite type of butter is ghee, which is a clarified butter. She said is way better than drinking olive oil in the morning, and it's better for digestion. I want to just pause for a second here.
Excuse me, but I just want to pause for a second here too. But who here knew that drinking olive oil was a thing? Because this is the first I've ever heard of it. Now, this person that she's talking about here, Nana, is not unlike the steak and butter gal Bella, who I've talked about a few times, particularly on my second channel, the Omni King. But the reason why I find Bella's journey here so interesting was she started off as a vegan. And she did it for, the aesthetic purpose. She wanted to, lose weight and be skinny. And you'll see her video after we finish the one we were just watching. But she later became carnivore, and all she eats is pretty much meat, which is meat-related products like, butter, dairy, that kind of stuff. Things that come from animals, high protein, high fats, low carbs, that kind of stuff. So exactly what this K-pop star was doing. And I find this diet to be extremely interesting. Now, obviously, every single extreme diet comes with its list of problems, but the carnivore diet, in the recent years, has become such a prevalent thing, and it's so new that there's not a whole lot of information regarding these influencers and what they're experiencing on the back end, because it takes a little bit of time for this sort of stuff to really cook. But I think it's fascinating to see it spread so quickly.
This is the darker side of K-pop that we always talk about. That female K-pop idols, even if they're not active, they have to maintain such a crazy body type. Nana has been in the public eye since her after-school days, and I'm sure the scrutiny on her body has never stopped. And honestly, I think we all know that this is not unusual for the K-pop industry. And 88 pounds definitely puts her well below what would be considered a healthy weight. And Nana shared all this super casually. Like, this type of extreme diet is relatively normal for her. Yeah, I feel like Nana has been in the industry for so long and she's just completely used to this. What do you think?
So obviously, I'm not a dietitian. Those of you who have been watching me for a while, I studied physics, not diets. But I think most of us could probably deduce that that body weight on top of this extreme diet, probably not the healthiest thing you can do. Especially if you're going to, influence people. And I want to talk about the cultural expectation first before anything else, because I know that there's a standard, an expectation that a lot of these, celebrities, K-pop artists, whatever, have to meet or want to meet or whatever it is. And let's just take a moment to condemn that, because that's a load of hot bullshit too. Believing that you need to be under a certain weight, be significantly basically underweight, unhealthy, to have a career in K-pop or music. I feel like this type of stuff should be left in the past at this point. And I think it has no place in the big 2026. Your success as a musician or an artist should not come at the cost of your health. And I don't think that's a hot take. And I think the criticism here, above all else, is it's about hating the game, not the player. And I don't think the players here are really the ones at fault. They're just following the industry standards, and it's unfortunate that that's what they are. But I think it's more important now than ever that people talk about this kind of stuff, because this is going to lead to so many different adverse effects for people. You're going to have people who are chasing these types of careers, and they're starving themselves and doing all different types of things, promoting ED, things like that, and thinking it's totally normal because it becomes more normalized through this type of activity, through this type of publicity. And it's a problem. Now, steak and butter gal here. Now, while she isn't, at least I don't think she is unhealthy in that same way. She's also kind of been pushing the same type of extreme, crazy diet, which I don't think is beneficial for most people.
Hi, I'm Bella. I thought I was doing everything right for my health, but my body was falling apart. I was constantly exhausted, chronically bloated, my skin looked gray, yet I was eating only whole plant foods. I kept thinking, this is supposed to be the healthiest way to eat, so why do I feel so awful? I was so desperate, I was willing to try anything. So I did the one thing I swore I'd never do again. I ate a steak. And for the first time in years, I felt satisfied. My energy came flooding back. My brain fog lifted immediately. My cystic acne, psoriasis, eczema, and rosacea started healing. In fact, I brought back my period within 2 months of eating all the meat and all the fat. I was so focused on what I thought was right that I ignored what was actually working for me. I'm not saying carnivore is necessary for everyone, but what I am saying is listen to your body. It knows what it needs.
If you are curious about my diet, comment your questions below and I'll be happy to help.
Hi.
Probably should have warned you about those pictures. But first and foremost, her saying that, she thought being vegan was the healthiest thing she could possibly do. Has did she skip over that part in health class? Or was she sleeping when they're like, well-balanced diet is the best thing you can do for your body? Just skip over that part because she really went from one extreme directly to another. Now, she's not the only one that's done this. There's like a whole like vegan to carnivore pipeline thing because I've seen countless influencers do that, and mostly in the same thing, in pursuit of like the healthiest diets or whatever it is, the one that's going to make them look the best, the flattest tummy, all that good stuff, you know. And I think this whole journey for Bella is remarkable. I don't understand how there's never like a stop of like, maybe we just balance things out. Maybe we try some of the meats and some of the vegetables, and we have a good consistency of everything and see how that does for us. But no, we're just gonna skip over that entirely, which I find just so fascinating that people are so tethered to these extreme diets over just finding a balanced diet that works for them or whatever it is. It always has to be some bizarre extreme. Now, I'm not here to really dissect the whole carnivore diet, but it comes with its challenges, its difficulties, its problems, its all different types of stuff. So, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, when she was vegan, though, she was legitimately putting her body through hell, which it's a pretty known thing out there nowadays after the whole vegan craze happened back in like 2018, something like that, and like everybody and their mom was vegan. And then people were like, wait a second, I got acne and, I'm gaining weight and I don't feel good. I'm tired all the time. And then people quickly learned like vegan was not for them, nor is it for most people. But that doesn't stop some people for wanting to go full fruitarian. Like, forget vegan, forget just cutting out meats and dairy and eggs and all that. How about we also cut out vegetables? How about we cut out rice? How about we cut out all of these things, wheat and everything, and we just survive, or I guess not really, on fruits? Because the truth of the matter is, those who adopt this fruitarian lifestyle, many of them, unfortunately, end up in the same place, not making it on this diet, because it just deprives your body of so many important, essential, necessary nutrients. And it's truly sad, but the really important thing to talk about is the fact that people get influenced. People go around, they post their videos and they influence others, and they say, hey, this diet's great, it's awesome, you need to do it, it's better than anything else you can do. When in reality, they're putting out extremely harmful and dangerous information. It's super important to talk about this because there's so much of this going around, and it is harming people at a rate that I don't even think people realize yet. So we're gonna have to talk about it. Now, like I said, her name is Carolina Kursek, and she passed away roughly 6 months ago. It's truly sad, but awareness is extremely important.
Mother Gaia helps me to see.
Hello, hello. I was just about to do a live with a beautiful, beautiful. You are here to shine bright, to embrace your own special light, permeating through illusionary bounds that your mind
All right, I'll be honest, I really don't feel super comfortable showing more of this video. There wasn't much more left, but the point is, obviously, I'm not a just tell kind of person. I got to show. So obviously, there it was. That was her, and it doesn't, take a professional dietitian to take a look and see that this probably wasn't the healthiest thing that she could possibly do for herself. And just like Eugenia Cooney, they were putting out this content and telling people that this is what you do, like this is good for you. And especially people like Freely the Banana Girl, who were like body shaming people like relentlessly, saying, hey, you need to get on an all fruit all sugar diet, or you're gonna look like a fat whale. Like that was literally like her thing. And that type of shit is so unbelievably harmful that I can't even really put it into words, because you literally had I saw a Reddit post a couple years ago now, I would say, or maybe like a year ago or so, of somebody who was talking about missing periods all the time. Like she just disappeared, like didn't have periods anymore because she was following Freely's fruitarian diet. And Freely would tell them that that's normal, that having a period is actually a problem, that you shouldn't have a period in the first place. I know, sounds ridiculous, but that's literally the type of thing that Freely would tell these young women. And they'd be like, oh, okay, that's fine. But little did she know that she might have literally been contributing to like irreversible health complications for these young girls. And the truth of the matter is, not that I'm an expert on this, I'm not an OBGYN or anything, but I can tell you this much, that from the little bit of research that I've done here, that if you are just not getting periods because of your diet, it's probably because you're missing very essential nutrients, and your body's like, well, we don't really have the resources for that. We're going to focus on things that keep you alive. And they're going to cut off, whatever else it is that is less important, less primary, I guess. And there was an update as well from that person who talked about going back and eating meat again, and then suddenly their periods came back. So yeah, obviously there's real harm here. And I'll show you guys a little bit of Eugenia Cooney as well, for those of you who've never seen her before, or it's been a long time and you don't remember. I think that's important because it's a major talking point of this whole video.
Fans are still concerned, and they flock to all our channels writing comments like this, saying they're checking in and just hoping that Eugenia will respond to them. However, it now appears that there may be a very good reason we are not seeing Eugenia Cooney posting or going live on any of her social channels, especially TikTok and Meta, Facebook and Instagram. It's because a group of parents have been going after those social media outlets for years. This is a huge legal law case, and Eugenia Cooney has just been brought into it. For years, Eugenia's content all looked the same. It was basically her out in the public, walking around, not really doing anything, but someone recording her in different outfits. And a lot of times they were outfits like this. Because of Eugenia's struggles with weight and eating disorders, a lot of people would report her accounts. This is what caused her accounts to get banned, age restricted, demonetized. Now, what ended up happening typically is that her account would be returned to her. After they went and age restricted her account, however, she completely changed her content. She started posting more about her makeup products and less just walking around videos, but her clothing style also changed. She was much more covered up, and most times she would actually be wearing sweatshirts, long hoodies, and things like that. Despite these changes, Eugenia stayed a very controversial figure, but TikTok still promoted her. They actually managed her. They constantly promoted her online because she made them a ton of money. Every time she went live, she would do battles, and people would stop at her channel because of her appearance, and they would send her a ton of gifts, which of course makes TikTok money. It looks like now this could be causing big problems for social media platforms, in particular TikTok, because the families that are going after these social media outlets in this lawsuit have now included Eugenia Cooney in this, and they want all of the communications between Eugenia Cooney and TikTok. This filing was uploaded on August 12th of 2025, but this case has been going on for years. It is massive.
Yeah, so it's gotten to a point where even, legal channels have gotten involved, because it is that much of an issue, and this type of influence is a serious problem, and not enough people are talking about it. And I imagine it's a difficult topic for a lot of people to talk about. I mean, it's not just the monetization risk, but just the topic itself is quite heavy and it's uncomfortable. Obviously, Eugenia Cooney's struggles are uncomfortable to talk about. And nowadays, it seems like she's trying to improve, that, she is seeking help and things, but she also had family members who encouraged her to be like this. And that is also a topic that needs to be talked about, like families who force their children into these unhealthy lifestyles, expecting them to be, 75 pounds at 5'2", really ridiculous, unhealthy, scary stuff. But there is something that we can all do. It's a matter of spreading the proper responses to this kind of stuff, the type of content that doesn't glorify it, the type of content that actually describes it exactly as it is, problematic, and something that has no place in the big 2026. Because otherwise, people are going to keep seeing the wrong stuff. Now, obviously, some platforms have cracked down on this, but like you just heard, TikTok was promoting Eugenia, which was absolutely abhorrent and should not have happened. But some of these greedy ass businesses don't really care about the negative effects of what they're doing as long as it's making them money. But anyway, really all I got for you today. See you all next time.